worst death in the Bible, a story so astonishing that it continues to intrigue scholars and readers for centuries. Imagine a man so powerful, so influential, yet meeting such a tragic and humiliating end that it shocked the ancient world. This is the story of Herod Agrippa I, the ruler who was literally eaten alive by worms. This account, recorded both in the Bible and by renowned historians of the time, is more than just a shocking event. It's a timeless warning about the dangers of excessive pride and arrogance before God. Herod was no ordinary leader. Born into a royal family and educated among the elite in Rome, he grew up alongside figures such as the future Emperor Claudius, who would later play a key role in his political rise. From a young age, Herod displayed an exceptional talent for politics, winning over both Romans and Jews with his cunning and charisma. He was adored by the people of Jerusalem, who saw in him a promise of stability and hope. Yet behind the shine of his achievements was a man whose ego grew with every new applause. His meteoric rise to absolute power over Judea became the perfect stage for his spectacular downfall. When he began persecuting the followers of Jesus to appease influential groups and even accepted being worshipped as a god, Herod crossed a dangerous line, a line that led to his public humiliation and one of the most painful ends ever recorded. Herod is a vivid example of how pride can become someone's greatest enemy. His popularity in Jerusalem was unquestionable. People cheered him in the streets, seeing in him a near-divine figure. But behind this image of greatness was a different reality. Herod faced political and personal pressures that drove him to act impulsively and recklessly. His vanity blinded him, and his arbitrary actions began to alienate allies and create powerful enemies in the background. What was once admiration became murmurs of conspiracy. He believed himself invincible, but was growing increasingly disconnected from reality. The irony is that the more he sought to be seen as a divine ruler, the further he strayed from the true values of leadership and humility. His trajectory is a clear depiction of what happens when unchecked power and an inflated ego lead someone to ruin. What do you think of leaders who act like Herod? Share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. The persecution of Jesus' followers was one of the darkest and most decisive chapters of Herod's reign. Motivated purely by political interests and a desire to consolidate his popularity among influential groups, Herod initiated a campaign of terror against Christians in Jerusalem. It wasn't a matter of faith or religious conviction. For him, the persecution was a power play, a strategy to strengthen his position as a ruler. Yet the impact of his actions was devastating, both for the Christian community and for Herod himself. The first target of this persecution was James, the brother of John, and one of Jesus' closest apostles. The execution of James, directly ordered by Herod, was not only a tragedy for Christians, but also a clear message that the ruler was willing to go to extremes to appease those who viewed Christianity as a threat. James's death sent shockwaves through the Christian community, marking a moment of fear and uncertainty. However, Herod, seeing that his actions had won the favor of some Jewish leaders, decided to go even further. His next target? Peter, the recognized leader of the church in Jerusalem and a pillar of the Christian faith at the time. During the festival of unleavened bread, Herod ordered Peter's imprisonment, planning a public execution that would further boost his popularity. Everything was set for a grand display of power, but something extraordinary happened. While Peter was under heavy guard, a divine intervention changed the course of history. An angel of the Lord appeared and miraculously freed Peter, leading him out of the prison while the guards remained powerless. The next day, Peter's disappearance left Herod furious. Unable to explain what had happened, he ordered the execution of the guards responsible, in a desperate attempt to hide his humiliation. This episode not only revealed Herod's ruthless and self-centered nature, but also highlighted God's sovereign power in the face of adversity. Despite the intense persecution and suffering inflicted, the miracle of Peter's liberation was a clear sign that God was working behind the scenes, protecting his servants and ensuring that the gospel message continued to spread. Herod's attempt to silence Jesus' followers became a reminder that human strength can never overpower divine will. Herod's meteoric rise over Judea was marked by a series of events and decisions that shaped his reign. By amassing a territory nearly as large as that of his grandfather, Herod the Great, Herod Agrippa rebuilt Jerusalem's fortifications and promoted games and festivals to solidify his position as one of the most significant figures in the Eastern Mediterranean. His political and diplomatic skill allowed him to maintain friendships with both Roman emperors and Jewish leaders, a remarkable feat in such turbulent times. Yet behind the facade of success and popularity, Herod faced internal and external challenges that threatened to undermine his authority. His excessive pride led him to act more impulsively, alienating allies and creating powerful enemies. Herod's rise to absolute power over Judea wasn't just a matter of territorial conquests, but a vivid portrait of the dangers of an inflated ego and the blindness caused by unchecked power. Herod's strategic alliances were crucial to his rise to power and his position as a prominent figure in the Eastern Mediterranean. He had a rare talent for forging strong political ties with both Roman emperors and Jewish leaders, something invaluable in a time marked by intrigues and rivalries. His ability to navigate these two distinct worlds made him a respected and influential figure, capable of maintaining stability in a region plagued by conflict. However, behind these seemingly solid alliances, Herod faced internal challenges stemming from his exaggerated pride. While he was seen as a skilled and diplomatic leader, his inflated ego drove him to act impulsively and become increasingly detached from the reality around him. Herod's strategic alliances reveal not only his political skill, but also the seeds of his imminent downfall. As Herod intensified his persecution of Jesus' followers in Jerusalem, something surprising was happening behind the scenes. The persecution, far from stopping the advance of the gospel, ended up strengthening the spread of Christ's message. As Christians were forced to leave Jerusalem to escape Herod's fury, they carried the message of the gospel to other cities and regions. What initially was a cruel strategy by the ruler to silence Jesus' followers became a divine opportunity to spread the good news. Thus, what Herod intended as a fatal blow to the Christian community turned out to be a tool in God's hands to further expand the redemptive message of Jesus Christ. The decisive moment of Herod Agrippa's downfall was as grand as it was terrifying. During a public ceremony in Caesarea, he appeared before a crowd dressed in royal robes of gleaming silver that shone brilliantly under the sunlight. The sight was dazzling, almost otherworldly. The people, captivated by his imposing figure and the splendor of the scene, began exalting him, shouting, "This is the voice of a god, not a man." It was the peak of his earthly glory, and it was also the moment of his condemnation. Instead of correcting the crowd and giving glory to God, Herod remained silent, basking in their worship as if he were indeed a deity. He allowed pride to consume him, believing himself untouchable and invincible, but divine sovereignty could not be challenged. In an instant, an angel of the Lord intervened, striking Herod. What followed was unimaginable horror. From a moment of glory and exaltation, Herod was plunged into unbearable agony. His body began to be consumed by living worms. The pain was so intense that he remained conscious as his flesh was devoured from the inside out, a public punishment that terrified everyone present. The scene was not just a reminder of the consequences of pride and arrogance before God, but a divine warning that echoed through the centuries. Herod, the man who dared to steal God's glory, met an end that no one could ever forget. He who ascended the stage as a god in the eyes of the people descended as a defeated man, humiliated and consumed by divine judgment. His downfall was not just physical but spiritual, a testament that no earthly power can resist the sovereignty of the Creator. If this story impacted you, leave a like, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications for more biblical content. The story of Herod teaches us that all glory belongs solely to God. Share this message with your friends and family.